Stay tuned because you are about to find out how 20 simple minimalist rules quietly changed my money, my stress levels, and my entire future. No, it didn't do this by making me famous, and it definitely didn't happen by forcing me to work 18 hours a day. Instead, it worked by helping me spend less, save more, invest smarter, and finally, breathe. You see, I used to think that getting richer meant I just had to earn way more money. But the absolute truth, a lot of my money problems were not actually income problems. They were overflow problems. Too many random subscriptions, too many impulse buys, and way too many small expenses completely draining my future. But once I started removing that noise, my money finally started staying. By the end of this video, you might just see your own spending habits in a totally different way. This video is for anyone who has ever said, I don't even know where my money goes, or I work so hard, but I still feel broke, or maybe I want financial freedom, but my life is just too expensive right now. Trust me, I know exactly how that feels. There was a time when my bank account looked great on payday, and then literally 5 days later, it looked like a total disaster movie. And the scary part, I wasn't out here buying yachts or designer bags. I was just leaking money through everyday habits that felt completely normal. Think about it: daily coffee runs, constant food delivery, random Amazon buys, sales that were not actually saving me money, and monthly payments for things I forgot I even owned. Now, this video is not about extreme frugality. It's not about living with one spoon and sleeping on the floor. It's about money rules. These are simple rules that made me richer quietly, slowly, and honestly. And yes, some of these rules are deeply emotional because money is never just about the math. Money is stress, money is fear, money is tied to our childhood and our identity. It is that quiet panic you feel when you know you should be saving, but you keep spending anyway. So let's talk about the 20 rules that changed everything for me. Rule 1: if I don't use it often, I don't own it. This rule sounds incredibly simple, but it hit me hard. I realized I used to buy things for a fantasy version of myself. I bought books I never read, beauty products for events that never happened, and kitchen tools for recipes I never actually made. I wasn't shopping for my real life, I was shopping for my imaginary life. So I made a strict rule: if I don't use it often, I don't buy it. That one change reduced my impulse spending almost instantly. Instead of buying a $90 blender for healthy mornings, I just used the basic one I already had. That sounds small, but remember, small leaks sink big ships. Rule 2: every item in my room has a monthly cost. Minimalism taught me something that personal finance books always say in a really cold, clinical way. Everything you buy has an opportunity cost. That means every single dollar spent on clutter is a dollar that cannot go toward your emergency fund, your Roth IRA, your index funds, your debt payoff, or your peace of mind. Let's make it real. If you spend $200 a month on random things you don't actually need, that adds up to $2,400 a year. If that same money were invested with an average 8% annual return, it could grow into a massive nest egg over time. It's not just stuff you're buying, it's your future financial freedom wearing a different outfit. Rule 3: one in, one out. This rule completely saved me from harmless emotional shopping. The rule is simple: if I buy one new item, one old item has to leave my space. That boundary forced me to pause and ask, do I really want this? Or am I just bored? Am I stressed? Am I just trying to feel happy for the next 10 minutes? So much of our spending is purely emotional. And when you finally force yourself to slow down, you start hearing the real reasons behind your cravings. That can feel uncomfortable at first, but it is the only thing that will set you free. Rule 4. I stopped shopping for dopamine. This one was painful to admit. I realized I was really shopping out of necessity. I was shopping for temporary relief. Having a bad day, buy something. Feeling lonely, add to cart. Stressed out, browse online. Bored, open a shopping app. Massive companies know exactly how our brains work. And that is precisely why these apps are designed to keep you clicking. It's not a personal weakness, it is a deliberate system, especially in the US. Impulse buying remains a massive driver of consumer debts, particularly online, where one click checkouts make emotional spending completely frictionless. So, I created a delay rule. Absolutely no non essential purchases are allowed in under 48 hours. And just like that, most of my visual cravings died a quiet death. Rule 5. I made my space look like the life I wanted. A messy, cluttered environment always led me straight into messy money behavior. When my room was chaotic, my spending habits became chaotic. I would constantly lose things and buy duplicates or completely forget what I already owned. I would order expensive takeout because the kitchen felt too stressful to cook in. I would literally avoid looking at my finances because everything in my life felt overwhelming. Minimalism gave me a vital visual reset. When your space becomes calm, your choices naturally become calm too. That might sound emotional, but it is incredibly practical. Less clutter means fewer duplicates, less chaos means less stress spending, and less visual noise always leads to much better financial decisions. Rule 6. I stopped paying for convenience every single day. Convenience is expensive. In fact, it is insanely expensive. A simple $12 meal can easily become a $23 expense after you add the tax, the tip, the delivery fee, the service fee, and mystery fee number 7. If that happens just 3 times a week, you are burning through over $250 to $300 a month. That's not just food. That is a car insurance payment. That's a monthly IRA contribution. That is a huge chunk of your emergency fund. I still pay for convenience occasionally, but I stopped using it as a daily survival system. That one shift made me feel richer almost immediately. Rule 7. Cheap things can be incredibly expensive. Minimalism isn't always about buying less. Sometimes it's about buying better. I used to buy cheap, low quality items because the low price tag felt safe at the register. But those items broke fast, wore out quickly, and just made my life harder. So I learned to ask myself a better question. Is this a low price or is it just low value? A cheap backpack that breaks in 3 months isn't frugal at all. It's just expensive in slow motion. This is where cost per use matters. If you buy a high quality $100 item and use it 200 times, that is only 50 cents per use. That is infinitely smarter than buying a $20 piece of junk 5 separate times. Rule 8. I stopped buying things to impress tired people. This rule changed my soul. I had to realize that a huge portion of my spending wasn't even for me. It was for social approval. It was to look successful, to fit in, and to prove to the world that I wasn't falling behind. But the people I was trying so hard to impress, they were completely buried in their own lives, their own bills, and their own deep insecurities. It hurt to admit it, but I was spending real, hard earned money chasing temporary validation. And temporary validation is easily one of the most expensive products in the entire world. Rule 9. Sales don't save you money if you didn't need the item. A massive discount can really feel like a major victory. But if I buy something just because it's on sale when I didn't originally need it, I didn't actually save a dime. I spent money. This was one of the biggest mindset shifts of my entire life. Retail stores love to make you feel incredibly smart for spending your money with them. But You have to remember that the smartest financial move is almost always not buying anything at all. Rule 10. I gave every single dollar a specific job. Before I embraced minimalism, my money just floated around. It came in on Friday. It completely disappeared over the weekend. And it left absolutely no explanation of where it went. Then I started using a very simple budgeting system. It wasn't restrictive or perfect, it was just crystal clear. Every single dollar was given a specific job before the month even started. Some went to bills, groceries, fun, sinking funds, my emergency fund, or investing. This is what experts call a zero based budget. And no, it didn't make me feel trapped at all. It actually made me feel honest. Because money without a concrete plan always becomes money with a leak. Rule 11. I saved first, not last. For years, I played the exact same game. I told myself, I'll just save whatever happens to be left over at the end of the month. And surprise, surprise, there was almost never anything left. So I flipped the entire order. I started paying my future self first, even if it was just $20, even if it felt tiny, and even if it looked completely unimpressive. Because in the game of wealth, consistency matters way more than drama. This is where automation changed my entire life. I set up an automatic transfer to my savings account to trigger immediately after payday. No motivation required, no perfect mood needed, and no daily discipline battles. Just systems. And systems will always build wealth better than emotions ever can. Rule 12. I built an emergency fund before chasing status symbols. Absolutely nothing feels quite as luxurious as having cold, hard cash sitting in the bank when life decides to punch you in the face. A lot of people desperately want the visible signs of wealth first, but real, unshakable peace usually starts with a very boring emergency fund. Think about it. The sudden car problem, a medical bill, a job loss, a travel emergency, or a family crisis. Without cash, a single emergency instantly becomes high interest debt. And that debt can easily turn into years of chronic stress. It's a harsh reality that many Americans cannot comfortably cover an unexpected $1,000 expense without borrowing money or relying on credit cards. That is not just a statistic, that is real, daily fear. My emergency fund didn't make me look rich to the world, but it made me feel safe. And true safety is highly underrated. Rule 13. I created sinking funds for real life. Minimalism helped me stop pretending that predictable expenses were total surprises. Birthdays are not surprises. Holiday gifts are not a shock. A cracked phone screen is bound to happen eventually, and a trip home for the holidays isn't magic. So I built sinking funds. These are just small, dedicated savings buckets for things I know would happen later in the year. This simple habit completely stopped me from ruining my monthly budgets every single time life, well, acted like life. That one habit reduced my financial anxiety more than almost anything else on this list. Rule 14. I learned that peace of mind is a literal financial asset. This one hits on a deep emotional level. When your life is constantly full of physical clutter, debt pressure, late fees, chaotic spending, and unpaid balances, your nervous system never actually rests. And tired, stressed out people make incredibly expensive decisions. Chronic stress almost always leads directly to emotional spending, terrible planning, missed due dates, overdraft fees, toxic treat yourself cycles, and completely avoiding your account balances. Minimalism finally gave me my peace back, and that peace gave me the clarity to make better money choices. That may sound soft, but it is as real as it gets. Rule 15. I started investing before I felt ready. I used to have this deeply ingrained belief that investing was only for rich people or older people or finance bros with 6 monitors, but it's not. You do not need to be a genius to start. You just have to start. I finally educated myself on simple long term investing. The concept is incredibly straightforward. You put your money into strong, diversified, long term assets regularly, and you let time do all the heavy lifting for you. Does the stock market go up and down? Yes, absolutely. But over long periods, broad market investing has historically grown well, far better than letting your cash sit idle, losing value to inflation. I seriously wish someone had told me sooner. Small investing is still investing. Rule 16. I chose boring over flashy. Minimalist money management is often incredibly boring, and that is exactly how it should be. No drama, no chasing meme stocks, no trying to double my money by next month, and zero panic buying or selling. I learned to deeply respect the boring path. We live in a world that constantly rewards excitement and flashiness, but real wealth is almost always built in absolute silence. Nobody is going to clap for your regular automated contributions to an index fund, but trust me, your future self absolutely will. Rule 17. I stopped confusing a high income with actual wealth. This rule completely revolutionized how I view the world around me. I had to learn that a high income does not automatically mean financial freedom. A luxury car does not guarantee peace of mind, and a fancy apartment does not equal a high net worth. Real wealth is not what people see, wealth is what stays. Net worth matters infinitely more than your image. Cash flow matters way more than flexing, and your savings rate matters so much more than just looking expensive. That was a really hard pill for me to swallow because social media constantly trains us to admire visible consumption. But visible consumption is rarely success. A lot of times, it's just crushing financial pressure wrapped in designer packaging. Rule 18. I stopped saying, I'm just bad with money. Words have immense power over our actions. For far too long, I kept repeating the same phrases. I am just bad with money. I'm just a natural spender. I can't budget to save my life. Or I'm way too far behind. That exact identity kept me completely stuck in the cycle. So I deliberately changed the narrative. I started saying, I am learning how money works. I am becoming more intentional every day. I can build wealth slowly, and I can fully trust myself with money. That might sound like a small psychological trick, but shame keeps people broke far longer than ignorance ever will. You simply cannot build a better financial future if you keep insulting the person who is actively trying to create it. Rule 19. I completely let go of lifestyle inflation. In the past, whenever I made a little bit more money, I used to immediately upgrade every single area of my life. Better phone, more expensive takeouts, trendier clothes, more subscriptions, and endless little treats. That is the classic trap of lifestyle inflation, and it will quietly steal your progress for decades. So I established a firm rule: whenever my income goes up, my savings and investing rates must go up first. Not all of it. I still absolutely enjoy my life, but I refuse to hand every single raise right back to my expenses. That rule made me feel incredibly powerful because more income finally started creating true freedom instead of just creating more bills. Rule 20. I chose enough. This is easily the deepest, most profound rule of them all. Minimalism forced me to ask a terrifying question I had been avoiding for years. How much is actually enough? Enough clothes? Enough gadgets? Enough status? How much trying to prove something to strangers is enough? When I finally chose my version of enough, something beautiful happened. I completely stopped chasing every passing trend. I stopped buying my emotions, and I stopped confusing consumption with actual comfort. For the first time in my life, money started feeling like a useful tool, not a constant source of guilt. That was the exact moment I quietly got richer, not just in dollars, but in calm, in clarity, in self respect, and in breathing room. Here is the truth: that absolutely no one says loud enough. A richer life is not always a louder life. Sometimes being rich looks like fewer packages sitting at your front door, more money growing in your account, less suffocating stress in your chest, and total honesty in your daily choices. Minimalism did not make my life empty. It finally made space. It made space for savings, space for investing, space for genuine peace, and space for saying a confident no. It created space for a future that wasn't always just one minor emergency away from completely falling apart. And no, I didn't become a millionaire overnight, but I became someone who finally stopped leaking money through habits that never loved me back. And that matters because quiet progress is still progress. And maybe that is the exact kind of rich more people are actually looking for. So tell me down in the comments, which of these 20 minimalist rules hit you the hardest today? And what is one specific thing you are going to intentionally stop buying this month? If this video spoke to you, if it made you think, or if it just made you feel seen, then please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone in your life who needs a money reset. And if you want, I can easily make a part 2 covering the 20 quiet habits that helped me build my first real emergency savings. If you want that, just comment part 2 down below. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye.